see what that guy did? He didn't even watch. He had a red light. I had the green light and he had the red light. What are you going to do? I mean, you know. You have to have compassion on other people. Without compassion, there is no understanding. You won't understand what's going on in the world without compassion. You have to think like Jesus. Compassion, love. The Bible teaches if you don't have love, you have nothing. It says you can do good works, you can do all these things, you can preach the Bible, but if you're not doing it in love, you have nothing at all. Absolutely nothing. Everything you do should start in love. According to the Bible, if you're a Christian and you believe these things. Look at that restaurant. It's an old German restaurant. They used to have these all over the Midwest. They're pretty cool on the inside too. If you go on the inside, they're really cool. Now this is downtown Coos Bay, Oregon. Show you one of my favorite buildings on planet Earth. Right there. Look at the round front on that building. Look at the beautiful architecture on that building. That place is so stunningly beautiful. I totally love it. Well, I grew up, you know, I was born in the 1962, so I usually grew up with buildings that were that were built from 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. So I grew up in all the old buildings at the turn of the 1900s. And I've been in and out of these buildings my whole life. Not so much anymore. And then the mall, you know, remember the mall? We'd all go hang out at the mall in the 80s and go to the food court and go to the scary Halloween store and do this and that and then go catch a cheap movie and You could do all that for like 20 bucks. And gas was like $1 a gallon. Well, so the mall replaced all these buildings. And then came Jeff Bezos. You can't blame Walmart because Walmart was still a building. But then came Jeff Bezos, Amazon. And he replaced all the malls. You don't have to go out to the mall to see a movie. You can watch online for free. You don't have to go to the store or to a mall to buy anything. You can just buy it online and have it shipped to your house in 2 days. So now what does America have? See, this used to be the average size of a house 60, 70, 80 years ago. Oh, that guy had a big house back then. Right there, that's the perfect block. And then we started building stuff like this. And then we got bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, the goal is to have a $1 million house on the Oregon coast at the beach. And then you'll finally be satisfied and obtain complete, joyful indecence, or whatever you want to call it. And you remember how small the motor homes and the trailers were in the 60s and 50s, 60s, and 70s? Now look at these mammoth things. Now here's some more of these houses. Everybody grew up in those when I was a kid. And people say, why were things so cheap back then? Everything was 40% the size it is today. Everything today is 60% larger, including the meals you eat. So it's not even how much it costs. You got to pay 60% more for everything because you're consuming 60% more of everything. So what's the end result? We have all these downtown areas all over America. They're dying. They're going out of business. They're dying. They're dead. They're gone. They're not gonna. It's not a matter of survival anymore. It's a matter of when do we tear. We're way past that. It's when do we tear them down and build something new and bigger. Like spaceships that take us to, Mars. That's what Elon Musk is trying to do. So yeah, it might be easier to buy something, from Jeff Bezos on Amazon, but we lost what was called community. You lost going out around other people, going to the mall, going to the movie. You lost this, and our society has lost community. You drive down the average neighborhood at 8 o'clock at night, 8 p.m. every night. There's nobody outside. They're all inside with staring at the cell phone or the TV. Back when I was like 10, 15 years old, 7 nights a week, you drive down the road, everybody was out in their yard all the time. You see, and you'd see your neighbor, and you'd say, hey, howdy doody, neighbor, what'd you have for dinner? And your neighbor would say, none of your damn business. Or he would say, I'd rather not say because my wife doesn't know how to cook, or something like that. And you would talk to each other. The only time you see people now is right now if you're driving to work. But you don't know any of these people. Or if you're driving home from work or you go to the grocery store, you don't talk to people. You got to use the stupid self-checkout. You're not excited about other people, no. And Jeff Bezos, you know, all these people, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, they all promised that things would get way cheaper with technology. No. Everything has tripled in price in the last 30 years, at a minimum. If something cost $10 in 1995, today in 2025 it costs $30. But if you made $10 an hour in 1995, you're not making $30 an hour today. You're making more like $19 an hour. So the wages are currently about 35% behind inflation over the last 40 years. So what does someone like me do to survive and thrive? I just don't buy stuff. I have zero debt. I don't buy a house. I don't have a car payment. I don't buy things. I wear the same pair of, 2 or 3 pairs of pants for 5 years. I make things last. I wear the same shoes for a year and a half. I don't buy things. I cut my driving from like 20,000 miles a year down to, now I'm down to like 14,000 miles a year. I don't buy stuff. And everything stops being manufactured. And then jobs go away. The people that make the weight loss drug, what is it, Ozempic? I don't know what it is. They just announced today in the news, we're laying off 9,000 people by the end of the year. Wow. And that's one of the smaller ones. I mean, I'm not going to keep going. I could go on and on and on and on and on. And you live here in America. You know what I'm talking about. The only way to survive in America today be 100% debt-free You have a job or a source of income and you live on 70% of whatever your income is. 70%. That's the number. And you save 30%. So if you make $100,000 a year, you got to be saving $30,000 a year. If you make $50,000 a year, you got to be saving $15,000 a year. If you make $30,000 a year, you have to figure out how to live on $20,000 a year. Now, I'm not here to tell you how to do it. I do it myself. I live on 70% of what our monthly income is. Because when the next Great Recession hits, there will be a Great Recession in the future. All the people who still owe money and all the people who are living on 95 to 99% of their monthly income, you're not going to make it. You're going to start losing everything. There's another homeless person right there. So why are people running around like crazy? Because they're so far behind on their debt. At the end of 2025, people are worse off than they've been in decades, debt ratio percentage-wise. You know, the Holy Bible, I just did a Bible study this morning out of Proverbs. A poor man who is honest is better off than a dishonest rich man in the eyes of the Lord. You say, you know, the average American says, I'm not addicted to anything. No, you're addicted to consumerism. You're addicted to capitalism, and you're addicted to commercialism. You might not be on drugs. You might not be an alcoholic. You might be 100% perfectly healthy, but you're addicted to consuming products. You cannot stop buying products. And that in itself is an addiction. The Bible says, whatever has mastered, or whatever you are a slave to is your master. If you own a credit card with a balance that you're trying to pay off, you have an addiction. a shopping addiction. Because you look at your paycheck, you look at your wallet, and you say, I only have this much money. But the item that I want to buy costs more than I have. So what I'm going to do is pull out my credit card and make payments on this item so I can get the item also. Now, 50 years ago, people didn't even have credit cards. Only rich people had credit cards. 60, 70 years ago, credit cards didn't even exist. You can look it up. They didn't exist for the average middle-class income person, that's for sure. So do you know what one of the top 5 richest corporations is in the whole world? And it's one of the top 3 ways that billionaires made all their money. The answer is through banks. Here's another homeless guy. The answer is through banks. Banks loaning people money. That's one of the most profitable businesses. It's one of the top 5 most profitable businesses in the world. You see, it's all in the wording. W-O-R-D-I-N-G, the wording. They say, we own the interest on your loan. And you say, yeah, but it's my money. They say, no, it's our money. They say we own the interest, you own the loan, but we own the item that you took the loan out on until the loan's paid. And most people, especially under 40 years old, do not understand that today. I look online and young people say, I bought a house. I own a house. They say, I own a house. I'm a homeowner. No, that's not true. The bank owns the interest. The bank owns your house until you pay off the loan. The principal, that's the part you own. And then you don't actually technically own your own house, because if you don't pay your taxes or homeowner taxes, in 3 years they will put your home for sale on tax foreclosure. Your house could be worth $1 million if you owe 3 years of taxes. They will put they will sue you and foreclose on your house. Now, most people would just sell their house and then pay the taxes and downsize. But there are a lot of situations where people, for whatever reason, they can't do that. Like an elderly person dies in the house and the family comes along a year later, they didn't know, and now the house was already sold to somebody else and they didn't even know their mother's house was sold, and they lose all that money. If you hit the right auction, you could buy houses for like 25 cents on the dollar. But you have to have cash. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. I had a friend when I was like 25 years old. He bought the house he lives in. I think he still lives in it. He bought like a $90,000 house. The old lady died and had no relatives, no heirs whatsoever. And she was several years behind on the taxes and everything. So the city came in. And back then it wasn't that strict. You just go to the auction and prove you bid on the house. He got a $90,000 house for about $18,000 paid, and that paid all the back taxes or whatever. And he lived in that house for 30 years. I think he still lives in it. And that house today would be worth about $200,000. Back in the Midwest where I lived. So let me finish up here. Americans do not have a lack of income. Look at that car, see, going as fast as it can around all the other cars. Look at these people going around. I'm going 55 miles an hour up this hill, look. Why are Americans doing this and acting this way? You don't have a lack of income, you have a lack of control over your spending. Do you know the average American now, if you have more than $50,000 in the bank, you can Google it and look it up. Just Google how many people have more than $50,000 in a savings. Only 24%. Only 24% of Americans have $50,000 or more. How is that even possible? Lack of discipline. You gave all your money to the banks. The mortgage company is a bank. Your bank is a bank. The credit card companies are a bank. The college you went to for that student loan, they were getting money from you, money from your parents, money from the state, and money from the federal government to send you to college. And now you're still working on Walmart as a cashier.